Hello, my name is Emma, and in today's video, we are going to be looking at the IELTS, that scary test a lot of you have to do. We're going to look at, specifically, one type of reading question for the academic reading. So this isn't for the general, it's for the academic reading. We're going to talk about the question that has to do with true, false, or not given. So this is a specific question. It may or may not be on your test, but I think personally this is one of the most difficult questions on the reading section of the IELTS. So I'm going to give you some tips and strategies on how to do well on this section. Okay, so let's get started. In this section, what you are going to find is a reading passage. So you will have a long passage on maybe cybercrime, maybe food security, on the history of the internet. It can be on anything. After the passage, there will be some statements, some facts, okay? What you need to do is you need to say if the fact matches, if it's true based on the reading, if it's false based on the reading, or if the information is not given in the reading. So I will explain true, false, not given in detail in just a minute. Okay, what else to know about the true, false, or not given? Another important thing about this question is we're not talking about the question that has to do with the writer's opinion. There's a very similar question on the IELTS that asks about the writer's opinion. That's the yes, no, not given. This is only on true, false, not given, not yes, no, not given. Hopefully that will clear up any confusion. Okay, so let's get started. What do they mean by true in these questions? When would you write true? I will show you. You can write true or T. T is shorter. If there is a fact and it is clearly written, you write T. If the fact is clearly written in the reading, you would write T. You'll often see synonyms. And again, write T only if you actually see this fact written. If you know the fact is true, but it's not written, don't write true. Only write true if with your eyes you read it and you see it in the fact, you see it in the reading, write true. So I'll give you an example of this type of question. Here is just a part of a passage. The reading is a lot longer, but here is a short version that you might find on the IELTS. This increase in cybercrime has alarmed many experts. So it would be a long passage. You might see something like that. And then at the end of the reading, one of the statements you might say, cybercrime is on the rise. You need to say if this is true, false, or not given. So how do you know if it's true, false, or not given? My advice to you is first, read the statement, cybercrime is on the rise. Underline any keywords. Cybercrime, this is a keyword, is on the rise. That's a keyword, okay? Then you go back to the reading passage and you quickly scan for these words or synonyms. What are synonyms? Synonyms are words that mean the same thing but are different words. So what is a synonym of rise? Increase, go up. Okay, so let's see if we can find cybercrime or rise. So I would scan the passage. Oh, the word increase. Cybercrime. So rise, increase. Okay, so I found the synonym. Now it's important for me to read very carefully to see if there's any contradictions. What does the sentence say? Does it really match? This increase in cybercrime has alarmed many experts. Cybercrime is on the rise. Both of these, both the reading passage and the fact or the statement, are saying cybercrime is increasing. It's going up. So that would mean it's true. So I could write T beside this. True. Okay. One thing to look out for with true, sometimes you will see words like some, all, only, never, usually, often, sometimes. Be careful with these words, okay? Because if it says, some people in Canada like to eat poutine, and you see the sentence saying, poutine is always eaten by Canadians. Even though you see the two words, oh, poutine, poutine, one says always, one says some. So this would not be a true statement. So be on the lookout for some, all, only, never, usually. This is where they try to trick you on the IELTS. Okay, so now let us look at false. What does it mean if you write false? Okay, now let's talk about false. What does it mean to be false in this section of the IELTS? If you write false for the fact at the bottom after the reading passage, it means you're saying the fact is opposite. So if you read the reading passage, you read the fact says all cats are black, the reading passages says not all cats are black, that would obviously be false. Okay, so the fact is opposite, and again, you have to look out for words like all versus some, often versus always. This is how they trick you. So if it says all children should eat broccoli, if that's what the fact says. In the reading passage, if it says some children should eat broccoli, this would be where you would write false. So let's look at an example. Let me go to this side. You can see better. The first personal computer was invented in the 1970s. So this is what it says in the reading passage. It's a long passage, imagine, on personal computers, and you come to this section. Now you look at the fact afterwards. So you finish reading, here's the fact. Personal computers were first invented in 1990. Is this true, false, or not given? Well, what would I do? First thing I would do, and also I should point out, it's not good to read the passage first. It's better, in my opinion, to look at the fact at the bottom of the passage and then look for information in the reading passage. This will save you some time. But now let's do this how I would do it if I was doing the IELTS. First, I would look at the statement. Personal computers were first invented in 1990. I would underline keywords. So we're looking at personal computers. We're looking at when they're invented. And we're looking at a year. Okay, so I might try to think of different words for invented in my head quickly. Created. Manufactured. Maybe not true synonyms, but similar in 1990. So then I would do my scan, looking for the key words quickly. Invented, something that looks like invented. Okay, personal computer. Invented, same word, that's easy. 1970s. Now I look to see if there's a match. I read this carefully and I compare. The first personal computer was invented in 1970s. Personal computers were first invented in 1990. 1990, 1970s. This statement is false. So it says the opposite. Okay. So now let's look at the hardest choice, not given. Okay, so now let's look at not given, or NG. This is, I think, why many people have a very difficult time on this part of the test. Usually truth isn't so difficult finding things that are true, but the difference between false and not given can really confuse a lot of people. So let's look at what they mean by not given. Okay, so you write not given if the fact is not written in the text. Okay, so if it's not there, if it was written, it would be true. So it's not true. And also, you do not see the total opposite of the fact written. If you see the total opposite, it's false. But if it's neither true nor false, it's not given. All right, so let's look at an example to see what I mean by this. Let me switch sides. Okay. So again, you'll have a long reading passage, and this is just a section of it. So, although once eradicated from Toronto, bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered one of the leading pests in the city. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I wouldn't even bother reading the reading passage yet. I would go straight to the question. So here's the question. So I look at the fact. The fact says, rats are the most common nuisance Torontonians face. Okay, now I go back, I scan. Okay, well, first let's underline rats, most common nuisance, and Torontonians. So these are the keywords. So I'm going to scan. Although once eradicated from Toronto, okay, so see the word Toronto. Bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered one of the leading pests in the city. Okay, so this talks about bed bugs. This talks about rats. I don't see anything here about rats. Now, could this one be false? Because is it bed bugs are the most common pests that Torontonians face? Well, if I read this, bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered one of the leading pests. This does not mean that they are the most common. There could be something that's more common than them. Maybe rats are the most common nuisance. Okay? So you got to be careful with words like one of the leading pests, the most common. So if I look at this question, oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, when you check for synonyms, in this example, pest and nuisance, these are synonyms. So that helped lead me to this area. So in this case, I see nothing about rats being the most common nuisance. It doesn't say rats are the most common nuisance. It also doesn't say they're not. So in this case, my answer would be not given. Okay. Now there's some important things I want to go over just quickly. One of the things I want to tell you is even if you read a statement, okay, you read the passage, you read the statement, maybe you study rats at university. Maybe you're an expert and you know for a fact rats are the most common nuisance Torontonians face. This is 100% true. I know it. If you don't see it in the reading passage, it doesn't matter if it is true or not. Okay? Even if you know it's true, if you don't see it, the answer is not given. Okay? So that's very important. Another important point is don't spend too much time on each fact. Because what can happen is maybe there's no information. Maybe it is a not given. But if you think, I gotta find it, and you keep searching, you'll waste a lot of time and the answer might just be, it's not there. So it's better to spend some time on it, just a little time, and guess if you don't know. You can always put a star and go back after. So maybe if I didn't know this, I'd put a star, I'd move on to the next question, and then I'd take a guess. So that's also a very important point. Okay, so I hope you come visit us at our website, www.ingvid.com. There you can practice a test, which will hopefully help you prepare for your IELTS. I hope you will feel more comfortable with this type of question after practicing our test. So until next time,